everybody, it's Elisa here. So in today's video I'm gonna talk about limiting beliefs, and specifically we're gonna rewire limiting beliefs together. And one very common limiting belief that so many people have is nobody will love me if I gain weight. Because for full recovery it's absolutely crucial to work on your mind, and specifically your thoughts and beliefs. You can't just try to stop those disordered behaviors if you also don't work on those disordered thoughts that are likely fueling those behaviors in the first place. And this is something we're gonna talk about today, and also we're gonna go through a practical process to work on those limiting beliefs. So I really hope today's video is gonna be helpful for you. And if you want to know more about recovery, how to go through it step by step, check out my book, Everything I Did to Recover from My Eating Disorder. And also on my website I have few online courses that teach you how to kickstart your recovery and also how to get your period back, and all those links will be in the description. And if you find these videos helpful, then please give this a like and also subscribe to my channel to be up to date whenever I post new videos. So now let's get started with today's video. So why is it even important to work on your beliefs? As we said before, everything starts with your mind. Because if you're doing some disordered behaviors, let's say like dieting and restricting, then it's very likely that there are actually some disordered thoughts and beliefs that are driving those behaviors. Because we don't diet and restrict just to diet and restrict, but there are likely some beliefs behind it that say that we should. Beliefs like people will judge me if I gain weight, or I can only be happy when I'm thin, or for example a belief that says nobody will love me if I gain weight, and so on and on. So these are just some examples of beliefs that can drive us to diet and restrict in the first place. So I really hope you can see how working on those thoughts and beliefs is very important, not just so you fully recover, but also that you sustain your recovery long term. A very simple process I love to use is to challenge and question those thoughts, and then also to reframe them to something more healthy and helpful instead. It's like an exercise to your mind that literally helps to rewire the brain and to see things in a more positive and helpful perspective. So now let's try to do this process together. The first step is to write down the limiting belief you want to work on. And if you don't know how to find your limiting beliefs, then maybe you can start to pay attention to like day to day, like when you get triggered, or when you have like a bad body image day, for example, when you feel guilt, when you feel shame, then ask yourself, what am I thinking, believing, or saying to myself right now? And then it's very likely that you're gonna find some limiting belief underneath those negative feelings. But for the purpose of this exercise, we already picked the limiting belief to work on, and it's the nobody will love me if I gain weight. And the second step is to start challenging that belief. And here are some ways I would challenge this belief. For example, you can ask yourself, am I thinking in extremes? Because most often our eating disorder is really distorting our thinking. We tend to talk in extremes, using words like nobody or everybody or forever or always. But on a closer look, we may see that actually this is not reality. So in this example, saying things like nobody will love me if I gain weight is really talking in extremes. It's a distortion and it's not realistic. Is it really true that nobody will love you if you gain weight? Or is it more likely or rational that there are still some people who love you despite you gain weight, and who love you for who you are and not because of your weight? And I really love a quote from Byron Katie that says, reality is kinder than our thoughts. And I find this to be so true, because our thoughts often think like the worst case scenarios, but the reality very often is not as extreme. Like our thoughts make reality worse than it really is. The next way I would challenge this belief is to ask, is this really true? If you think about the people who you really care about, would you really stop loving them if they would gain weight? Are you with them because of like how their body looks like, or because of like how thin they are? It's very likely that you are actually with those people because you love them for who they are. You value your relationships like way beyond just like physical appearance. So how likely it is that other people only value you because of your body, and if you gain weight, they suddenly stop loving you? So don't believe your thoughts. Your thoughts are not facts. So just because Because you may think like this right now, or your eating disorder actually wants you to think like this right now. It doesn't mean that other people must think exactly the same way. And also, if somebody would reject you just because of your weight or the weight gain, then it just means that they weren't worth your time and energy anyway. So try to find other ways like why this limiting belief is not true. You wanna question this and poke holes to its logic. Don't blindly just believe like whatever the eating disorder says. Question it, challenge it, argue against it. Third way I would challenge this limiting belief is to ask yourself, is this helpful? Like, what's the helpful point in saying to yourself that nobody will love you if you gain weight? Like, is it helpful to forever stay in an eating disorder so you would be in a lower weight and everybody is loving you because of your body? Like, is this really like the life you want? Like, is this really the kind of relationships you want to have? Maybe instead you can remind yourself that what other people think of you is not your problem. And it's definitely not your problem to fix. If they have a problem with your body, it's their problem to fix. It's not yours. And also, instead of saying to yourself that nobody will love you if you gain weight, how about you focus on the things that you can appreciate about yourself? For example, things like, I'm a good listener, or I'm a good friend, I am kind to others, I am smart, I am resilient. What other positive things about yourself you can start to focus on that has nothing to do with your weight or your appearance? Because most often we want others to stop focusing on our body or our appearance. But actually, we are the ones who keep doing this to ourselves. We are objectifying ourselves. We are downgrading our worth to our appearance or whether we gain weight or not. So don't wait until others will stop focusing on your body, but start to focus on you stopping this behavior, because it's not helpful. And next way to challenge this belief is to ask yourself, what would I say to a friend? Maybe you would say something like, I love you for who you are, and I don't care if your weight goes up or down. You are still the same person to me and your value doesn't change. And that is certainly more kind and compassionate way to speak to somebody. But don't only speak like this to your friends, but start to practice speaking to yourself like this as well. And even if you try to speak to yourself like this, I know at first it doesn't feel natural, it feels fake, it feels like it's not working. But remember, rewiring of your brain happens with consistency and repetition over time. So the more you practice speaking to yourself in kind and compassionate ways, like you would speak to a friend, the more natural and normal it will start to feel. And finally, with this particular belief, I would also challenge it by asking whose job it is to love me. Because at the end of the day, I believe it's only your job to love yourself. Because how crazy it is to want and expect others to do something that we are even not doing. It's much easier to point fingers and give others this power and responsibility over our lives and how we feel about ourselves. But this is something you can never ever control, because you can't control other people, what they think or how they feel. So if you believe that it's other people's job to love you before you can love yourself, then it can only set you up for a lifelong path of misery and helplessness, because your belief is based on something that you can't control. So I think it's much helpful to have a belief that it's only my job to love myself, because then I can work on my mindset, I can work on how I treat myself and take care of myself. I can control in what thoughts I give meaning and power to, what beliefs I choose to wear or follow. So if I have a belief that it's only my job first and foremost to love myself, then I think it's a much more sustainable path to happiness and freedom. And if you're interested in more content about self-love, then actually I have like 3 videos about self-love practices I really recommend, and I will link them down below so you can go and check them out. And the last step is to reframe. Reframe that old negative thought to a new, more positive and helpful one. If the old belief said that nobody will love me if I gain weight, then based on all the ways we challenged and questioned this belief, I would reframe it to maybe something like this. I choose to love myself first and foremost, and the most important people will love me for who I am and not because of how I look like. And if somebody has a problem with my body, then it's their problem and it's their problem to fix. And then they were probably not worth my time and energy anyway. So I really hope this process was helpful for you. And I also recommend you to start doing this as a daily practice. Start writing down those limiting beliefs and also start to challenge them and reframe them. And when you start with this, it's so normal to feel that it's quite hard, maybe to challenge your beliefs, or maybe you feel you can't fully believe the new positive ways of thinking. But this is exactly why you need to keep doing this exercise. It's like a new skill you are developing. And remember what we said before, that our brain is rewired by consistency and lots of repetition. So over time, you will absolutely get better at this. It will all feel more easier, more natural. You're gonna see increase in positive ways of thinking, more rational thinking, and over time you're gonna see how it's gonna affect how you feel and also your behaviors, and therefore also the results you're getting. So yeah, I feel like it's a very good practical mindset exercise for your recovery. So thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you found it helpful and found it practical. And if you want to know more about recovery, check out my book, What I Did to Fully Recover from My Eating Disorder, and also check out the online courses on my website. All the links are gonna be in the description. And also like this video and subscribe to my channel, and I'm gonna see you next time. Bye.